how are you? James Cullen Bressack, again, thank you. Welcome back to the Action-FLIX podcast here at actionflix.com. I talked to you for Darkness of Man, back the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, the gritty, stripped down, noir, black, bleak Jean-Claude Van Damme. So how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much. I think we also talked on Beyond the Law, right? My Seagal movie as well, like a few years before that, or no?
I wanted to ask you too. Was that was the last one Seagal has done? I mean, I think he's doing one now, but like that was like
that was the last Seagal movie.
Yeah. So you've worked with some bangers, sir. You like Mel Gibson. Of course, you got the chance to work with Bruce Willis before he had to unfortunately retire due to his condition and everything. So that must have been pretty cool for you, huh?
Yeah, definitely. All I need is Arnold, Sly, and Wesley Snipes, and I'm golden.
Absolutely.
I've done them all.
Okay. All right. So I have to apologize for coming late to the party because this just got put on my radar when I got the email. I'm talking about your new one coming up, the workout. So I apologize in advance that I hadn't, done anything with it. But as you'll see, I just put out my my article today for the trailer and everything.
Whoa.
So yeah, it's up there.
Yeah.
So I watched it last night and I watched it today. So I've seen it twice. So I wanted to make sure it was fresh in my mind. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, let's start with this. Okay, so because I did my research last night. I'm like going back and forth and I'm like scrolling and they're like all the found footage films have been like horror movies and like that type,
I've
right?
never seen a found footage action movie, which is what made me want to do this.
I was going to ask you. That's the reason, right?
Interestingly, you're the first person who's pointed that out.
Thank you.
As weird as it sounds, and I'm not trying to like sound like I'm complaining, but I've had a couple reviews saying like, well, we've seen so many found footage action movies before, but they don't list any of them. And I'm like, which ones? I'm like, I think this is the first one.
Listen, I went through. I was like going through everything. I was like, nope. There was one called, I forget. It started with a C that kind of like had a little bit of action in it. What, I can't remember what.
Cloverfield?
No, not Cloverfield. That was like the Godzilla type movie.
Yeah, that one. And then they had Project X, which was a comedy.
Yeah. Shoot. I can't remember what it was called. It started with a C though. But anyways, regardless of that, yeah. So like this is like that's so. I'm gonna try to show you this will be my review for the my review title though. It says found footage thrillers get a shot of adrenaline with director James Cullen Bressack's upcoming Spec Ops actioner. Of course, it won't say
Thank
upcoming.
you. Yeah.
Yes, I loved it. Listen, I love when because again, I get a lot of PR stuff, and I do a lot of research, trying to find stuff and everything. But it's always refreshing when somebody sends me something, and I'm like, what is this? And then I open it up, and then I saw your name. I'm like, hey, James made a new movie. So I'm like, that's pretty cool. And then then I watched it. I'm like, it's this. I'm like, this is exactly what independent action cinema needed, was a found footage action film. And I'll talk to you a little bit about, and I hate that the movie's not out yet because I can't really talk about real good stuff like spoilers and stuff like that.
It's coming out in like a week. So
yeah, but it's like I don't. Well, okay, maybe I'll be just a little bit, but I'll put the big spoiler tag on my interview when I put it out. So again, we already kind of talked about this is why you wanted to do it, right? So you're like, yeah, because you've done horror movies in the past, but you're like, yeah, there's been no action movie, so like, why not make a found footage?
Early on in my career, when I was 19 years old, I made two found footage movies as a director that were horror movies. One was called To Jennifer, and it was the first movie ever shot on an iPhone 5. It was the whole movie was shot on iPhone, and then I did Hate Crime, which was banned by the BBFC. My dog just coughed. There's a little cameo right there. So I did Hate Crime, which was banned by the BBFC in the UK, and then I hadn't done found footage since then as a director. And when the strikes hit, and we were just kind of like hanging out, at our houses waiting for things to happen, I was like, I haven't made a movie this year. Let me see if I can be creative and like what can I do that's not breaking any rules, and like that I could do like on a scrappy fun budget. And I had this idea of like, okay, let me make a found footage action movie. I hadn't seen anything like it, and I thought like, well, so many people have watched like video games and like watching people, so like how do I incorporate that almost like a video gamey type feel in many aspects. And so that's kind of where we went. So we started mounting cameras on the guns and on the chests of people, and I think it really works, especially like later when they meet Glitch's character, played by some doofus. It was me.
I was like, yeah, you were blurred, but I was like, I'm like looking, I'm like, yeah.
But yeah, so when that's going on, I think it really like expands the filmmaking ability, because he gives them that device that can pretty much pull like feeds from cameras anywhere. And like that's actually a real thing that like the CIA and NSA are able to do. They're able to pull feeds from any type of cameras in any area, including phones, in order to triangulate somebody's positioning.
Right. So yeah. So again, because there's some found footage films, because I've seen a lot of them, and some are done well, some not so much. But the ones that are done well, it's like because they really don't know how to do the concept and like how to shoot it and how to make it work and everything. But like you made it work, where it's like, yes, it's a found footage movie, but it doesn't feel. It feels like you're still watching it like regularly. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, we built in like why they're recording, as well as like a narrative device of why it's edited, and I think like that really helps enhance like the experience, because like you kind of want to watch a more fluid movie, and the edits have character. It makes it kind of fun, because when I was talking with RJ, the editor of the movie, we talked about like, you're not editing this as your character, like as you in real life. You're editing this as Glitch. Like how Glitch would edit this movie. And so that's kind of where it comes from.
Yeah. So let's talk about the cast, of course. Like you got Peter J, Josh Kelly are the two main leads. Phenomenal. Like I said, they've done like I know Peter J's done stunt work and stuff like that, has been in some things, and so Josh Kelly as well. But like they're brother-in-laws, and like they're both and again, I'm gonna say this again, I've said this in other interviews before. It's like, okay, this is a note to the bad guys. If you're gonna do something really bad to a loved one, make sure the other person is not a formerly trained special operations officer, because it's not going to end well. So again, of course, they're both two ex-Army Rangers, but talk about them and what they brought to the movie.
Yeah, so Peter I had worked with before. He was one of the bad guys in Darkness of Man. He played Dae-hun in that.
Yes, I was going to ask you. Like, yes.
And so he's a phenomenal actor, but also able to do like the fight scenes. And Josh Kelly has been a friend for a very long time. We actually worked on my movie Captors back in 2017. And he's a super talented actor, and also is an Army Ranger. So he's done 4 tours of duty, and that kind of built legitimacy to the character, as well as he was able to kind of like tell us certain things in order to like really make it authentic. And both of those two guys, as well as Ashley Evans Smith, who plays Tank, who's a UFC fighter, all 3 of them do 100% of their own stunts. There are no stunt doubles. There is no, like, they do 100% of the things you see on screen. Even the scene where they're all wearing masks when they go into a building, that's just because at that point in the story, their characters would be wearing masks, but they did 100% of those fights. There was not a single moment that there was a stunt double for them.
Absolutely. Okay, so I'm glad. So Josh, he was like a built-in tech advisor for you. So not only was he a star of the movie, like he also told you how to do the, like, here's how you do it. Did you pay him double for that? Did he get like a bonus pay for that?
We should have.
So okay, so let's talk about the action. Of course, I always have to talk about the action, and I liked how you, because like with a found footage movie and doing it action wise, it could have totally like went off the rails and everything. But you, sir, chef's kiss. And I liked how, yes, they're shooting in it, but this is like a CQB movie, baby. This is like close quarters, like MMA fighting and fists and
Yeah.
so I'm old school. I used to run a martial arts school. I'm a martial artist. So anytime there's a lot of beating in a movie, I'm all for it. I love that you. So note to the fans, if you want to see beatdowns, this is the movie for. So talk about incorporating the action.
Yeah, so I sat down with Luc LaFontaine, who
Oh, okay, yes,
was
yes,
my stunt coordinator on Darkness of Man,
yes.
and I was like, Luke, if you don't do this movie, the movie's not going to get made. So you have to do the movie. And I like pretty much begged him to do it. So he came in and was our fight choreographer and stunt coordinator, and he worked with our actors to build these fights. But I got to give it up for him. There's some particularly two fights that I think that are two of the coolest fights I've done in any movie, and that's the one with Ashley in the apartment. That's that very long fight with the assassin, as well as I really love the fight inside the mansion where they are masked and they're just taking out like 30 people. And it's just this nonstop sequence of just like endless amounts of goons running at them. It was just a lot of fun. And that fight took 2 days to shoot fully. Like it was 2 full days of filming that.
I believe it. So here's another thing I like a lot of times I'm watching like no offense to American movies, like Asia, like you watch their movies and their fight scenes go on for like 2 days in a movie. But like I loved how like your fights start and I'm like, oh, it's still going. I'm like I get excited because this is an extended fight scene. And you talked about her fights in the apartment. I was just like this lady's got skills, man. And I love how she like kills the guy and then Josh comes out. He's like, there's a dead guy over there. And like he didn't even know what the hell was going on. That was like the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
But I also love because, and again, this is not really split. Well, I guess maybe, but Peter Jay's character Wyatt, he gets attacked too at the same time his wife gets killed, unfortunately. And listen, there's like 1 minute of happy in this movie. Like when it first starts, it's like 1 minute of happy, and then it's like boom, it's like depressing for the rest.
Yeah.
So, but talk about like because again like that added another element to it because he has a severe brain trauma injury and he's starting to forget things and he's going to lose cognitive skills and stuff like that, so that was another neat piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was something that I wanted to like tap into, like memory loss and stuff, because a lot of people, two different things. One, my grandfather passed away from Alzheimer's, so like having to deal with memory loss and understanding that is definitely a fear that I've always had. Because losing your mind as things progress is just it's what makes us who we are, and I think exploring that in the character of like how much of his own humanity is he able to hold on to as he's losing parts of himself through his brain deterioration, but also like a lot of people coming back from war and stuff, as well as fighters, have experienced traumatic brain injuries and CTE, and like how do they experience and deal with these cognitive functions that have suddenly like deteriorated from impact that's happened on their brains. And so it's something that we did a lot of research on and wanted to explore, and I'm really proud of Peter for the authenticity he brought to that.
Yeah, so again like anyway, I think so. Like a lot of times I'm talking with you guys and stuff, like people in this, like now everybody's like really focused on action for a reason, like not action for the sake of action and stuff like that. So this movie is a direct representation of action for a reason. And I love how like because the main plot is him documenting this all to his newborn daughter, so that way when she's old enough she will see what like how her dad lived, how her mom lived, and then how he sacrificed himself, but also that actions have consequences at the same time.
Yeah, its actions have consequences, but also how he sacrificed him. Like he believes that there's a mob hit on like the family, so like he's documenting on this because he's like at some point she'll see a story that like her father was a crazy person, and he wants her to know like, no, I took out all these people so that you could live your life without having to look over your shoulder. Like he basically sacrificed himself in order to do it. And, is that a rational thing? Remember, this whole thing is being documented by a person who already has a brain injury. It's not necessarily rational, but it is the through line of the story that we're following.
Right. So now, in terms of like making this type of movie, what were like, obviously you made movies in the past. Was there any new challenges in this type of storytelling that you experienced while making it?
There was quite a bit of challenges. One of which is like, in
Good.
a given scene, we had 8 cameras going, so it's like
Yeah.
there was not an ability to see all the camera. We didn't have enough monitors, so there was not an ability to see all the cameras all at once. So like there was at any given time, I'd only really be seeing 4 cameras, and like the rest of the things would just be doing something, and like it'd be a surprise once we like at lunch were able to look through the footage, and I'd be like, oh, that's what we got with those cameras. So like I had to basically make sure the main stuff that I wanted was covered from, my hero cameras, and everything else was just bonus. So that was a really interesting experience. As well as, having the actors, like operate the cameras, because so many times there's moments in the scene where they're having to move stuff around, and, teaching them, placement of where they should be while the camera is in their own hands, was definitely an interesting experience as well. And I think that, there's something that's interesting when it comes to found footage, which is like the more authentic the performance is usually the less polished. The more polished you make it, that feels too movie like. You have to almost pull back the polish in order to make it feel more authentic.
Right. So now, in terms of like previous found footage movies, did you take inspiration from, and like, is there like favorites of yours that you kind of like took bits and pieces from? And even though they're like, it's a different genre, but
Yeah,
it's all the same when you're talking about the type of it.
Interestingly, I'm going to go really far back, but like Man Bites Dog.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Definitely there's some inspiration from that in here, as well as, I think that there's a little bit of inspiration as well, with stylistically towards the end of the movie Chronicle.
Chronicle, that's the one I was. Yeah, that's the one that started with the C. Yes, yes.
So there's that scene where they throw all the cell phones in the air, and you're able to see way more angles of the scene, and that's what makes me go, okay, I can start playing with found footage in a different way. Shout out to Josh Trank. Josh is a friend of mine. But I was able to play with it in a different way to create more almost hybrid scenes of like movie style with found footage, as the film progressed.
No, so and that's what makes it work too, because the way you did your found footage movie is like, because like, it's 2025, so there's you kind of mentioned it a little bit before, but like all the technology that we have, so there's all these different ways that they can capture like different viewpoints and stuff like that. So it's not like, because like back in the day it was like somebody's cell phone or something like they like trying to capture it and everything. So that's why it really works. And I just want to stress to people that are going to watch this movie that, because some people might be turned off, because I know some people that like when they see or hear found footage, they're like, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I'm a fan of The Rookie, the TV show with Nathan Fillion, and every time they do the found footage episodes, I'm just like, oh, okay, all right. So it's like it's just kind of, and I'm not gonna lie. I saw this one, I was like, I was intrigued because like I said, I did my research up. There's never been a really action thriller found footage movie, but like, I just want to stress that the way it's done, and I said this already, but it's not like it's a found footage movie that doesn't look like a found footage movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's we tried to really enhance it, and that's like pulling from cameras that are on computers and security cameras, and like anything where there's some type of camera, they pulled from it in this movie.
Absolutely. So now, in terms like, so now you got this one done, like you did a found footage. What's your future plans? Like, what do you want to tackle next?
Well, as weird as it sounds, the next movie that I have coming out is a comedy.
Oh, okay.
So starring Dane Cook. So
I love Dane Cook. Okay,
that should be a fun one. And then after that, I have a few things percolating. So we'll see. But obviously there's a lot of love for action, and if it makes sense and I get to work with one of the other stars, let's make it happen.
Okay, like I said, and again, I get like I throw out a lot of love to indie, because I like a lot of times, like when people say low budget or indie, people think that as a negative thing, and I'm here to say it's not negative if you have a low budget. You know what I'm saying? And I hate that people think that.
For sure. Listen, I put together, an initiative for first-time filmmakers to do, their first movie, $7,000 budget, because that's the first movie that I did was a $7,000 budget, and so I've been financing those, and one of them got into Fantastic Fest this year, Penance, and that is a perfect example of a movie that can be done on no budget, and has amazing action.
Now, I won't keep you too much longer, but I got to ask, because of course you've worked with like some of the greatest action stars ever. Is there any real quick anecdotes you could give me about any of them? Like something that you could throw out there that like nobody's like heard before?
Oh man, what can I say without one of them killing me? I will say that Mel is really, really funny. And so he loves to crack jokes, and he's definitely like great to talk to. And when I first met Mel, he walked up to me and he's like you're hunching your back, or does your back hurt? And I was like a little, and he just like walks behind me and like lifts me up and cracks my back, and he's like, does it feel better now? And I was like, yeah, it does. And I'm like, okay. That was kind of like a really interesting first time to meet Mel. But I love Mel. He's a dream to work with as a director, because as a director himself, so much knowledge, but also so he's so like respectful of the position. It's a really beautiful collaboration. He's awesome.
That must have been surreal. You're like, Mel Gibson's cracking my back right now. You're just like, what
it was a very surreal moment. But I think it also made it like be like, oh yeah, he's just like a normal dude.
I know, and like I said, he's gotten a bad rep, of course, in the past and stuff like that. It's like, but people just need to shut up and pull the sticks out of their butts and stuff like that. People can have a bad day. Unfortunately, sometimes celebrities are documented, so which kind of sucks. Now, you ever starstruck, like you start to do these movies, and like did you walk on set and you're like Jean-Claude Van Damme standing? Did you ever like have trouble working? Like, because I do interviews. Like, I'm not gonna lie, the first time I met Scott Adkins, I was like, what am I talking about? So it's like, so do you ever get starstruck?
So as weird as this sounds, I've never gotten starstruck while talking to the actors. Where I start to get starstruck is when I'm behind the monitor and I'm watching the screen, like, and I'm seeing the actor on the screen, and I'm like, holy shit, this is somebody that I grew up watching in movies, and now they're in my movie. So it's more of like a private moment that I have. Like, yeah, I'm able to talk to them completely fine, like as if it's we're just working together and stuff. But it's those moments where like I'm actually seeing them on a screen, where I'm like, wow, this is crazy.
That's okay. So last question, and then just like now, in terms like of this type of movie, what do you want people to get out of it? What to like promote it so like people will want to watch it.
I think this is a scrappy, gritty found footage movie that is a lot of action and a lot of heart. And so if you want to see something that's fun and pulls on your heartstrings and has a lot of like adrenaline and a lot of action, like this thing is nonstop action. So please check it out.
You made me feel something. I hate that. I hate you for that, because I hate when people make me feel something and I start to get a little like I'm cutting onions. I'm cutting onions. That's what I'm doing. I'm cutting onions. But they did such a great job. Like I said, this is such an impressive movie, and I can't thank you enough. I know we talked in the past, but I can't wait to talk to you again in the future, because like I said, you're becoming one of the like I know you started your horror thing and now you transition. So you ever gonna go back to horror real quick? Are you ever gonna like go back and forth?
I would love to. I'd also love to make a horror action movie. But
combined
at the moment, let's see what happens. But I've never really subscribed. I know it's probably not good for the marketing of myself or my career, but I've never subscribed to a genre. I just like telling stories I find interesting. And so that's kind of what I mean. Like, if you do a deep dive, you'll see I've directed an animated kids musical. Like,
I did see that. I did see that.
I've done a lot of random things. So I definitely just whatever I think is cool is what I like to make.
Absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough, James, for taking more time to talk to me. And the workout, it comes out October 28th, correct?
October 28th on VOD.
So if you guys are looking for a kick-ass, again, found footage, like gets a shot of adrenaline. That's gonna be my title for my review too. And the cast does a phenomenal job. It's got beatdowns, it's got shooting, it's got machine guns, some brutal kills, which I'm always a fan of. So you put like, you know, because like sometimes, you know, you're like, you know, obviously, you know, budget wise and stuff like that, but there's a couple of throat slits in there, sir, that I was like, yeah, baby.
Well, that's one thing mixed in for my horror is practical effects. So I love using these gore effects in action movies.
You got the blood coming down. I was impressed with that, like with a couple of them. So again, success with the movie, James. Success in the future. I'm sure we're going to talk again because we are now connected, and I'm going to do my best to promote the crap out of this movie because, like I said, I love it when I don't know about a movie, then it hits me over the head, and I'm just like, I found my next action fix, and there you go. There's the name of my podcast. So have a great day. Good luck with the rest of the interviews and the promotion of the movie, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. All right.